The 70s gave us bell-bottoms and a whole lot of great music, from glam and progressive rock to punk and reggae. But it wasn't always like that. In the 60s, Canada was long on artistic talent, but short on anything resembling a viable music industry. The flower-powered decade spawned plenty of new stars, folks like Ian and Sylvia, Anne Murray, Gordon Lightfoot, Neil Young, Joni Mitchell, and Leonard Cohen, and such pop and rock acts as Lighthouse, the band, and the Guess Who. But there was virtually no recording business to support them. That was all about to change as the 70s got underway.
The Canadian music industry was just a burgeoning new thing in the late 60s and the 70s.
At the time, Britain had its stars. The United States had their stars. In Canada, think about it, what do we have? Well, here comes Anne in the middle of this.
And take the snow back with you where it came from on that day. Well, forever is untrue. And if I could, you know that I would fly away with you.
Snowbird changed my life. That was it. That was going to be my career. I was the first Canadian female single artist to sell 1 million copies of a record in the U.S.
She was as important to Canada as Joni or Leonard or Neil or Pierre Trudeau or these huge signposts of Canadian culture, especially the late 60s, the 70s. We were defining who we were. And Anne was the first one out of the chute.
While rock rules the Woodstock era, coffee house culture is far from dead. A new wave of singer-songwriters finds an audience waiting for them. They don't all plug in like Dylan, but these artists electrify listeners with their highly personal songs about a wide, cold country. Songs that resonate around the world. Coming from the prairies, a pair of artists will grow to become two of the country's most beloved musical icons. Joni Mitchell and Neil Young write timeless songs that reflect the beauty of Canada's natural landscape. They'll move on to become influential players in rock, jazz, pop, and grunge. And although they will both move south to pursue their careers, they are forever quintessential Canadian artists. Their solo performances on stages around the world will have the power to hold audiences spellbound for decades to come.
Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you've got till it's gone? They paved paradise, put up a parking lot. We are stardust, we are golden, and we got to get ourselves back to the garden.
She takes a lot of specifics, but makes those specifics seem magical.
That you can live by.
Deja Vu was released in March of 1970 at the same time the Beatles broke up. CSNY were rock's new superstars. Their singles Woodstock, Our House, and Teach Your Children were all over radio. They were the symbol of peace and love, except between themselves.
Hot on the heels of CSNY's Deja Vu tour, Neil released his solo album, After the Gold Rush.
Neil just shot right by us. After the gold rush, we couldn't even see his dust. You know, he is, to this day, bigger by himself than the three of us are together.
At first, it seems like Canadian music is only about proven hitmakers. Anne Murray, Gordon Lightfoot, Neil Young, Joni Mitchell, and the Guess Who.
So suddenly we had 5 or 6 million sellers. We had a gold album. We had gold singles.
We were playing, I think, a 3 or 4 hour dance in Kitchener in the arena in Canada. And I broke a string, which meant you take a break. Remember those days? You break a string. We're taking a break, and you went and changed the string. So the band had gone different directions. I was out front, and I remember putting on the string and hitting a note on the piano and tuning it up. And out of the blue, I started to play that riff.
I said, oh my God, man, I got to be on stage. I can't be standing here talking to you. I got to be up there.
I remember Burton coming up on stage, running on stage, saying, what are you doing? I just said, we're jamming an E, play something. And he played flute, and he played the piano, and he played harmonic, everything that he played. And I did another solo, and I didn't want to forget this riff. And I ran over to him, and I yelled out, sing something.
Cracked the top 20 in Billboard, and we're getting pretty excited. Then it went top 10, and we're getting out of our minds. And top 5, and then bang.
Take a look at the top 10 scene. In the number 10 position, it's Simon & Garfunkel. Marmalade holds number 9. Ides of March number 8. Number 7 is Norman. Number 6, The Beatles. Number 5, Kenny Rogers. Number 4, Tyrone Davis. Number 3, Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young. Number 2, Friends of Distinction. And this is the number 1 song.
Were you aware that in 1970 this young band from Winnipeg knocked off Let It Be after number 1?
We become aware of it since we renewed our acquaintance. He tells me every day. I don't know why, but he has to do this thing.
It was just something that we couldn't believe was real. It was number 1 in the world.
And to hear that news that Wednesday afternoon that we were number 1 in Billboard, it was astounding. And it stayed there for 3 weeks.
By 1970, the Guess Who is one of the top singles bands in the world. They topped $5 million in record sales that year. That year, they're one of the top singles bands in the world. But like so many bands of their generation, at the very peak of their success, the band begins to fall apart. Original drummer Gary Peterson still wonders why.
It's all bewildering to me. Guys worked so hard to get where they were going, and then once they got there, they did everything to destroy it. Why?
I think the pressure was starting to get to us. The pressure of what do you do next? What's your next logical career move? That's what was haunting us, I think. And then things got ugly with Randy.
I'm allergic to smoke, and I've never smoked, and I've never done any drugs. And in the late 60s, Burton and some of the other guys in the band were having a party. The world was having a party. I don't hold it against them. It was really peace, love, and sex and rock and roll, and I wasn't into that. So there was a real lifestyle difference.
Randy was changing. He had children by then. He didn't want to tour as much.
And I was kind of sad and happy to leave, and they were kind of happy to see me go.
We became terrible enemies for a while there, and the month he left was May of 1970. And to be honest, to be very frank, I was glad to see him go at that point.
Dark moon is out when friends fall out.
After leaving the Guess Who, Randy Bachman forms Blue Collar Rockers Bachman Turner Overdrive, one of the era's biggest bands, and reaches the coveted number 1 spot on the Billboard charts for the second time.
I remember hearing You Ain't Seen Nothing Yet, and that song is just phenomenal. And just trying to learn how to do that with my lips and being able to go, baby, you ain't seen nothing yet.
When Charlie Fatch first called me to Chicago, which is the head of Mercury Records, I was there alone. He said, "You have a manager?" Of course. Didn't have a manager. Went back to Vancouver, walked into Bruce Allen's office and said, "Could you be our manager?" "I don't know how to manage. I don't want to be a manager." I said, "Well, you kind of manage us now. Can you just come and act out this role and pretend you're my manager?" So Bruce says, "What the heck?" We fly to Chicago. We go and we meet all the guys. And when we're all done, Bruce goes, "I can do this."
And once he rode the very steep learning curve of Bachman Turner Overdrive, along with Randy Bachman as his tutor, he got it pretty quick.
Fred Turner walks into the studio to lend a microphone to me. And then being able to go hang out and write with Randy and hear these stories about, why there's piano in Taking Care of Business and no other song.
We finished recording the song. It's late at night. It's midnight. There's a knock on the studio door. I open the door and there's a guy standing there with some pizza. And he says, "I've been listening to this song through the door. It sounds like it could use a piano." And he plays the song once and leaves. Charlie Fatch flies in to hear the end of the album. And halfway through the song, the engineer pushes the fader and brings in the piano. Charlie Fatch said, "What's that? BTO with the piano? That is fabulous." "Who's playing the piano?" And I say, I have no idea. So we did find this guy, and that's the piano player on Taking Care of Business.
Trying to look pretty, and if you train on time, you can get to work by 9. And start to say a job to get your pay. If you ever need a noise, look at me, I'm self-employed. I love to work and nothing all day, and I've been taking care of business every day, taking care of business every way, every day.
Somebody actually has to sing those lyrics for them to become cliches in the first place. And the fact is that even though you think you've heard Taking Care of Business in the song prior to that, no, that was the first time.
He just breathes music and just looked at the songs that he wrote.
You know what the
So
amazing thing
incredible.
about him is that he has never stopped.
BTO isn't the only Canadian act taking care of business.
Burton Cummings takes over leadership of the band. He's 22 years old. The first order of business? Replace Bachman. And for Burton, there's only one place to go.
We could have had anyone in North America probably at that time that we really wanted, you know, because we had a string of hit records, but we absolutely positively wanted someone from Winnipeg to replace Randy. We wanted the soul of the band to remain Manitoban.
Anybody here see the noise, see the fear and commotion? I think we missed it.
Burton comes home and recruits Greg Lescue from the local band Wild Rice and Kurt Winter from Winnipeg's hottest bar band, Brother. Winter brings with him two brother tunes, Bus Rider and Hand Me Down World. Burton throws in Share the Land, and the Guess Who beat goes on.
Did you pay your dues? Did you read the news this morning when the paper landed in your yard? Baby, I'll be there to shake your hand. Baby, I'll be there to share the land that we gave away when we all live together. I'm talking about together now. Baby, I'll be there to shake your hand. Baby, I'll be there to share the land that we gave away when we all live together. I'm talking about together now.
With Share the Land, they tour the land. From Europe to Japan, they even play the White House, they're Tricia Nixon's favorite band.
Somebody's waiting for me around the corner now.
From Portage Avenue to Paris, Guess Who records are selling everywhere. But this is the age of sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and with success comes excess. The casualties mount, and again, Burton recruits Winnipeggers. Donnie McDougall replaces Lescue, who has quit in the middle of a tour. Bill Wallace is in for Cale. But by 1973, the hits don't come as often or chart as high.
Clap for the Wolfman. He gonna reach your record high.
1974 brings one last hurrah. A novelty tune, Clap for the Wolfman, goes top 10 in North America. But no one seems to be clapping back home. The recruiting of local players is backfiring. Burton sees it as keeping the Guess Who a Winnipeg band, but folks back home say it's breaking up theirs. They resent that and his success. Bill Wallace remembers when Kurt Winter was scooped from his band.
Burton got Kurt in the band because he'd seen a band we were in called Brother, which was a band that wrote Hand Me Down World and Bus Rider. And Kurt gets stolen out of our band and goes plays with the Guess Who, and they take all our tunes, and we have no band left.
I know that there was resentment. There was almost hatred, I guess. There was resentment, but it wasn't done to hurt those bands. It was done to preserve what the Guess Who had become.
Although plenty of new bands and singer-songwriters soon arrive on the scene, the path to a flourishing Canadian music industry proves to be a rocky road. The Collectors.
Before we did the album in New York, Howie Vickers left the band, and Bill became essentially the lead singer.
And so the Collectors were one of the bands from there, although I don't really remember, being just a tiny, tiny kid. But Chilliwack, certainly.
The Collectors became Chilliwack in 1970.
The strongest song from that first album was Reno. We actually played Reno on Rock 2, if you remember Rock 2 out in Toronto. We did quite well there.
In vain, I tell you, we're all the same. 'Cause there you stand, a saying, man, it's not for real. 'Cause we're the ones who get to steal the show. And I don't know, I guess you're right. But even so, if there's no audience, it just ain't no show.
We were very instrumental in putting a show called Festival Express that traveled right across the country. It was a train, a potlatch type train that started and played shows in Montreal, then Toronto, then Winnipeg, Calgary, and Vancouver.
Are we in Calgary yet?
We're stopped.
Hey, we're in Alberta.
Maybe we ought to run out and take a look.
Alberta.
Alberta, let your hair hang
don't want
there,
your hair
man.
hang down. No,
Man, we're all so stopped, man. We can get
And we'll always remember that as one of the highlights of his career because he had the opportunity to rub shoulders with people like Janis Joplin and all those big musicians.
During the summer of 1970, a unique event took place in the history of rock and roll. A collection of the world's greatest bands boarded a private train for 5 days. Their plan, to party and jam across Canada.
Just imagine putting a bunch of crazy musicians together and telling them to go have a good time. Not a problem.
This train was not for sleeping. It was partying all night long.
It was a train full of insane people making music night and day, and then occasionally we'd get off the train and go play a concert.
Don't ease, don't ease, don't ease.
Featuring on-stage performances by the band, the Flying Burrito Brothers, Grateful Dead, Buddy Guy, Janis Joplin, and a host of others.
Well, it was through Kenny Walker, of course, and Thor Eaton, and they did say that they were putting this together, and they wanted to have a Canadian contingent, even though they had some major American names on it. And so he knew both Ian and I, being sort of part of the Toronto crowd, and we immediately agreed because we thought it was an amazing idea.
Now, Mash McCann was a very original and unique attraction, and my partner Terry Flood and I signed them to management, and we went off to New York.
When we went to New York to record, it was our first recording. But they didn't want us to record all our original material. And one of the tunes they did not want to record was As the Years Go By. It was too square.
I think As the Years Go By is one of the weirdest hit songs ever to actually be on the airwaves. It is completely nutty.
And as the years go by, true love will never die. At 17, this girl says, do you love me? And it really means, will you respect me? The teenage boy answers, I love you. And it really means, can I make love to you? And as the years go by, true love will never die.
It was, of course, #1 across Canada, and it became #1 across Japan.
We went from playing in a church basement on a Wednesday night to playing in Tokyo on a Saturday. When we got to Tokyo, we found out that we were almost like the Beatles there. And we did 3 shows, and they were all attended by, at least 60, 70,000 people, baseball stadiums. I'd never seen anything like it.
Several concert promoters are savvy, and a national touring circuit develops for big rock bands like Lighthouse and Crowbar.
And to kids in Saskatoon, to people in the secondary markets, especially when Mash McCann, when Lighthouse came to town, I mean, that was big time rock and roll. It had all the trappings.
On that morning when I wake up, See your face inside a cloud. See your smile inside a window. Hear your voice inside a crowd. Come with me, baby, and fly.
There's so many bands, when you hear them on the radio, and they got strings, and they got this and that, and you go to see them, there's like three guys. You know, they don't say, I ain't like the record or whatever. And I said, I'd love to be able to have a big, big band that would have like a brass quartet, a string quartet, a rock quartet, and anything that we recorded, we could reproduce on stage.
It wasn't the talent we were lacking. We've never lacked talent, but very dependent on our brother, big brother to the south, for the star-making machinery.
I got a request to go to Parliament. They wanted me to come and tell them what it was like to be a musician and a writer and a performer and not be able to get airplay in this country.
The thing stopping the Canadian music industry from taking off was that the local radio stations weren't playing Canadian content. All kinds of talented contemporary rock and roll musicians who, given the opportunity, started to make some waves, started to make some noise.
What CanCon did was give us management, studios, and labels.
I think it just paved the way for a lot of musicians and for a lot of bands to think that you can actually do this coming from a small city and take it worldwide.
The radio landscape is changing. AM stations, which play only a small number of Canadian records, are surpassed by freeform FM stations, which give airplay to a much wider range of artists. And the newly launched Juno Awards lay the foundation for the future Canadian star system. It is the dawn of a new era.
All of a sudden, all of these artists that we had never heard of are getting exposure on radio, and radio was the powerhouse in those days.
When they started playing Canadian records, they started building a real Canadian industry.
This is a young band from Halifax that came up to Montreal. I saw the band and loved them. Just thought they were great. And my partner, Terry Flood, and I signed them.
April 1, 71. It was brothers, David and Richie Henman, their cousin, Jim Henman, and myself. The first album was called April 1, came out in 71. And the only song that did anything like that album was called Fast Train.
Our first single was Fast Train in 1971, which was top 40 in Canada.
In Chinatown, Vancouver, Canada, I had a place called the Shanghai Junk. I had a topless improv group and a straight man that quit, and I was looking for a straight man, and I found Cheech instead. The improv group broke up, so we formed a band. We intended to do music because Cheech is a singer, I'm a guitar player. We went on stage at our first gig, and we just did about 45 minutes of straight comedy. And then I realized if we play a note, it'll ruin the whole thing. And so we just said thank you to the audience, and we never played a note. And then Cheech and I joined up. A year later, we had our first hit record.
Who is it?
Dave.
Dave?
Yeah, Dave. Come on, man. Open up. I think the cops saw me.
Dave's not here.
Canada. Across the globe, our national identity can be boiled down to a few obvious things. Maple syrup.
So Canadian that the image of the maple's leaf is officially tied to our national identity. Yes, Canada and the world loves maple syrup. On pancakes and in coffee, on salmon and salad. Now available in airports.
In bars from Duncan to Dartmouth, the blues hold sway on Saturday night. But a few groups wind up on the national stage thanks to new CanCon regulations ensuring critical airplay on FM radio. Some of the first blues heroes are Whiskey Howl and Crowbar, a big, boisterous boogie band from Hamilton, Ontario that scores the very first hit of the new CanCon era.
First time I heard Crowbar, I was lying in the back of my mother's Austin Marina, and it was Oh, What a Feeling. And after the song, they said Hamilton's own Crowbar, and that blew my mind.
Well, the reason why we sort of stationed ourselves there is Bad Manners. The band had Big Pink, and we had Bad Manners, and for 12 years we stayed there. Everything we did, we pretty much did out of Bad Manners. Everybody could live there, pass out there, rehearse till 4 in the morning. It was wonderful, it was paradise.
Crowbar is probably the most insane band this country has ever produced. And of course, any time that we wound up doing a concert together was big, big trouble.
So when Crowbar played the Maple Music Junket, which was this huge event organized for European journalists, then Kelly really went for it.
Like Lighthouse is playing before us, where we're gonna like impress the guy with our chops. So we thought, let's just give him a burlesque show.
Blues and rock were combining in the early 70s, and people were enjoying those long songs.
Every 5 or 6 years, somebody records Signs.
The timing was just right for it. It was kind of a protest song of sorts, but it was just kind of an observation. A lot of people identified with it. Our second single was called Absolutely Right. That did really, really well, too. That sold, I don't know, maybe 750,000 records, and it really did well.
Here I am again, mama. I'm knocking on your door. You let me in, I swear I won't be the way I was before. Just don't you know that I've been thinking about what you told me, rolling it over in my mind. And much to my surprise, I find you were absolutely right. You've been right all along.
We made a mark, and we did it, and people remember the song. You know, that's what's important to me.
Dr. Music used to do a lot of my background vocals on those early albums. And then Diane Brooks, who was from Dr. Music, used to do background vocals with me. And then Laurel Ward, who was with Dr. Music. They both traveled with me a little bit. Terry Black, Steve Kennedy, Michael Kennedy, all those guys from Dr. Music. And that was just a great group.
I love you so. I love you so.
When Toronto's Luke and the Apostles lose their guitarist, it spawns another formidable blues band as Mike McKenna joins forces with Joe Mendelson to form the mighty Mainline.
Mainline did a record in '72 called the Bump and Grind Review that
that incorporated elements of burlesque with elements of blues.
So that was the event. The big setup was, we're going to see Mainline where? At the Victory Burlesque?
In a notorious move, Mainline, with some of its members dressed in drag, share the stage with a bevy of burlesque performers at Toronto's Victory Theatre.
It is you that I would call equal. Just like you and us. This is not brain damage.
Mendelssohn Joe has made a bazillion records, completely disregarded, I think, now as a musician, and shouldn't be. Incredible songwriting, fantastic original guitar playing, original things to write songs about. He writes songs about things that nobody else writes songs about. Lick and Sniff, The One You Love. Who else has a song called Lick and Sniff, The One You Love?
Hey, Blue, there is a song for you to ink on a pen. Underneath the skin, an empty space to fill.
I met a redneck on a Grecian Isle who did the goat dance very well. He gave me back my smile, but he kept my camera to sell. Oh, the rogue, the red rogue. He cooked good omelettes and stews, and I might have stayed on with him there, but my heart cried out for you, California. Oh, California, I'm coming home. Oh, make me feel good, rock and roll band. I'm your biggest fan. California, I'm coming home.
She was writing incredibly deep lyrical songs that told stories and wove images and pictures in your head.
It just sort of transported the people into another world.
She opened my eyes to music and in specific songwriting.
I remember when I first found Blue and heard Case of You, I played it over and over and over and over and over again.
I drew a map of Canada. Oh, Canada. With your face sketched on it twice. Oh, you're in my blood like holy wine. It tastes so bitter and it tastes so sweet. Oh, I could drink a case of you.
I think that was the first time I'd heard the word Canada in a piece of music. And like, I drew a map of Canada. And the way she sang it, it just was like, oh yeah. And it was so her story.
Everybody who listens to it says the same thing. That's my life, or that's about me, or that speaks directly to me.
In my deepest, darkest, most depressed moments, that record, from time to time, has been the one that I play.
If I had to pick one album to listen to over and over and over again, it would probably be Blue, which I think is one of the 5 best albums ever made.
And still be on my feet. I'd still be on my feet.
In 1971, Neil returned to Toronto. He had played before that time at the Riverboat, and I found myself paired with Bernie Fiedler as co-promoters to present Neil Young at Massey Hall, which was going to be Neil's really debut Massey Hall performance. It was really very exciting.
It was our first jump from Neil's solo career, from clubs to main rooms till 3,000 seaters. It was one of the great performances, because we think of that as one of our fondest memories that night.
I wanna live, I wanna give. I've been a miner for a heart of gold. It's these expressions I never give. searching for a heart of gold, and I'm getting old.
Harvest was the biggest selling album of 1972. Heart of Gold was Neil's first #1 single. He had left the biggest group in America and not lost a step.
For Joni Mitchell and Neil Young, radio airplay isn't a problem. But for struggling unknown artists, it's a different story.
The broadcasters appeared to want to play more and more and more of the very few established Canadian artists.
And so easily available.
A new government ruling forces radio stations to play 30% Canadian content, or CanCon.
I thought that was the biggest problem, arbitrary 30%. I think it should have started at about 10 or 15% and then let it grow.
But that isn't the only problem. New record labels have to struggle to get financing.
I recall myself needing additional financing for my label come 73. By this point, I'd signed probably 8 or 9 different Canadian acts, including Blood and A Foot in Cold Water, and I needed financing for my company. I needed to take it up a level. I mean, I couldn't go to Bay Street for a company that was 3 years old, that was investing in rock and roll in the early 70s on Bay Street. Forget it.
The Gold Rush started with multi-track recording facilities, talented producers, and talented musicians. And when you completed the package, you actually had a place where you could take it and have a reasonable expectation that it could get played.
And suddenly there was a light on us, and what we did became evident to radio programmers.
Valdi springs out of the fertile West Coast like a towering redwood to become one of the country's top folkies, with idealistic songs about peace and contentment. Paradoxically, while singing about the simple life, Valdi and his hometown band used then state-of-the-art technology to make one of Canada's very first music videos.
Play Me a Rock and Roll Song had been very well produced. Claire Lawrence, in my case, was the producer, and a brilliant producer. And he managed to take something from that song and make it accessible.
And I love that song. I love the humor, I love the wryness, and I love the way he sang.
I played them some songs about peace and contentment, the things that I've come to believe in. When I was through to a chorus of boom, some track star yelled, thank God he's leaving. Now someone play me a rock and roll song. I've had it to hear with your peace and patchouli. Play me a rock and roll song, but don't play me no song at all.
Because of the CanCon, because it was a good rock waltz, these elements combined to make it easier for me to get that song played. And it was a major success right across the country and in Potsdam, New York.
I think it's just a realness to him. You know, I believe it was, I believed him when he sang to me. And he wrote, he was a message-orientated songwriter.
He's up on stage and he's never pretending to be anything else than what he is. And it's endearing.
A Yorkville rock manager starts True North Records. Newcomers have a place to pitch their music.
I put out the word that I was starting a record company called True North, and I didn't have an artist. I didn't have anything really. Just I had a name and the idea. I didn't even hardly have any money, frankly. But Bruce wanted to make his first record. Gene wanted to produce his first record, and I wanted to make our first record.
Doesn't much matter now where I'm going.
I remember when the record was being made, it was only then that sort of struck me just how brilliant Bruce was, because, you know, I'd kind of signed him a little bit on the basis of going to the country and musical friends. But it really, the heart of that, even that first album, are things that sounded like nobody else.
The closer we get, the easier life becomes for each of us. We can sing songs and play at each other over wine, in bottles or in pipes, and we can pass on endings till the end. We can laugh, me and my musical friends.
I yearned so much to write that way, you know, to paint the pictures and the images you see in your mind, the feelings you have for people, to put them down in words and to share them.
When we come again to celebrate renewal.
The thing about Bruce Cockburn I love too is that he's also an amazing musician. I mean, seeing him play is pretty devastating.
Watching that guy play guitar, it's like he's got 4 hands.
But the way he plays is such a part of his songs.
Bruce Cockburn and I really started around the same time, and I've recorded a couple of his songs and have admired him greatly as a writer.
And few the ones with help to lend within the world of men. One day I walk in flowers. One day I walk on snow. Today I walk in hours. One day I shall be home.
One Day I Walk, I love that. It was sort of a gospel kind of song, and I was a sucker for a gospel song.
Of all the artists to record Lightfoot songs, none gives a more rustic, heartfelt interpretation than Canada's iconic singer from Spring Hill, Nova Scotia.
At that time, the songs at our disposal were from Canadian writers, and it was great. Shirley Eichhardt, Gordon Lightfoot. I recorded Cotton Jenny around that time.
There's a house on a hill by a windmill with an old mill and a valley below with a river wide. There's no such thing as bad times in the soft southern plain. Oh, Cotton Jenny's her name, and she wakes him up when the sun goes down, and the wheel of love goes round.
I love the warm, sort of deep, languid kind of approach to singing. I'm very, very influenced by Anne Murray, still to this day.
I got to know David when I was still in high school, and he would come and play at Louis Boo in Ottawa.
And he had this wonderful voice. It kind of sounded like he was influenced by blues guys like Bobby Blue Bland, and also who was a big influence on Richard Manuel from the band, and had this sort of beautiful voice. And but sang material that was more singer-songwriter oriented, and it was a fantastic combination. And I find that his music over the years, especially, he made an album that Bruce Cockburn produced called Coast to Coast Fever. It still holds up as being just a beautiful record.
He was ready to make an album, but there was nobody to produce it, and I was asked to produce it, and I'd never done that, but I'd been in the studio enough with my own albums by that time that I had this illusion that I knew what was going on. So I took the job.
Many miles through the wind and rain since I came in your town tonight to make my fortune and my fame.
I could still do a David Whiffen voice. Be like, well, haven't I been far enough? David Whiffen had a voice that I swear to God could part Lake Ontario. It was unbelievable.
Many of his songs have been recorded by Anne Murray, Harry Belafonte, the Gwyn, the Byrds, the Cowboy Junkies, and on and on and on.
A suburban teenage runaway with a shoulder bag full of songs is chomping at the bit.
Murray comes running behind me one day, and he says, I hear you started a record company. You've got to sign me. He said, I'm going to make you $1 million.
He said, look, if you're serious about wanting to do this, get the hell out of here.
So Murray did that, and he went to New York. Tom Rush recorded a few of his songs. Murray's own career is still not really going. Murray gets a gig at the Riverboat, and I go see him. And, Murray's playing these songs like Child Song and Honky Red and 16 Lanes of Highway, and how lucky can I be? I sent this guy away a year ago, and now here he's back.
Murray McLaughlin, I remember when Bernie bought me a demo of Murray's, and he played it in my hotel room for Joni and I. But there was just this wealth of really fine young songwriters.
much sugar in my bowl. My cup it overflows. Empty-headed strangers read me empty-headed prose. I have to hide myself inside when I come into heat. And in my mind I think it's time to be back on the street.
Murray has set the stage for artists like the Tragically Hip and Rheostatics and so on, who really try and paint a broader Canadian picture, as well as using their own Toronto viewpoint.
When I need a drink, I'm stains on a sink, I'm please and thank you, ma'am. But when I got a head full of honky red, I can give me good God. Well, I've got me a girl I see sometimes, she's damn near half a ton. In a furnished room in a Georgeville pen, I got me a no good son.
I got a call from Murray because Bruce Cockburn was supposed to play mandolin on Down by the Henry Moore, but he said, "Can you come in after your gig tonight and come on down to Thunder Sound?" It was a thrilling session, and it was really fun. And then Henry Moore became a hit.
I went to the Silver Dollar, looked a stranger in the eye. A friend of mine said he don't think this town's so out of sight. But he's got shades all round his soul, and it thinks he's seen the light. Singing, don't you wanna keep on moving? Don't you wanna get undone? Don't you wanna change from losing? Don't you wanna have some fun?
The first actual gig we ever did was at Maple Leaf Gardens. But Gordon Lightfoot had decided to do a benefit for the Canadian Olympic team.
We got Murray McLaughlin, we got Sylvia Tyson, we got Leona Boyd, and myself, and we had a real tight little show.
And I think, Gordon was expecting something a little quieter. But the place, went nuts, and it got a lot of press.
And they ate me alive that day, and I'm glad they did. They helped us do a great show.
Wanna keep on moving? Don't you wanna get undone? Don't you wanna change from losing? Don't you wanna have some...
Murray had Down by the Henry Moore, and just this remarkable sequence of great songs that got on radio.
That's how we're popular in Halifax, and we're popular in Vancouver. That song Flip, Flop, and Fly was a big hit all across the country.
Flip, flop, and fly, but oh, care what I flip, flop, and fly.
Jane Busey would turn up early for the Downchild Blues Band sessions, and I would do secret recordings of Jane before Downchilds heard it. And she's one of my favorite piano players ever.
We had a hit record, and the rest is geography. We were across the country back and forth for years.
Here comes my baby, flashing a new gold tooth. Here comes my baby, flashing a new gold tooth. Well, she's so small she can mambo in a payphone booth. I'll flip, flop, and fly, but don't care what I flip, flop, and fly, but don't care what I don't ever leave me, don't ever say goodbye.
I got a call from my record company saying that the Blues Brothers wanted to do our songs, Shotgun Blues, and I Got Everything I Need Almost, on their album. Once that album was out and those songs were on it, and it just took right off. The album sold 3 million anyway, so that was excellent.
Among Canadian folkies, Gordon Lightfoot inspires a generation with his deeply personal songs.
I mean, obviously he wrote a lot of his great, classics in the 60s, the Early Morning Rains and that. But in terms of his voice, the sound that when we think of Lightfoot, it didn't really start kind of emerging until the 70s.
And he just seemed to be like a man in love with songwriting.
Our next performer is as much a part of this country as hockey or maple syrup or even me. Through the years, he's won 16 Juno Awards, and he's a member of the Canadian Music Hall of Fame. Simply put, he's a legend, a great artist, and I'm proud to say a friend. Please welcome Gordon Lightfoot.
You could read my mind, love, what a tale my thoughts could tell. Just like an old-time movie about a ghost from a wishing well, in a castle dark or a fortress strong, with chains upon my feet. You know that ghost is me, and I'll never be set free as long as I'm a ghost you can't see.
Those autobiographical ones like Sundown and Painter Passing Through, they seem to pop off every once in a while. And when you got one, you got a good one. I knew right at the time that I was working on it that I could feel some potential there. And we felt the same thing too when we recorded the song, that it might be a single, and it actually was.
You know, for some reason, that sort of, whatever that Canadian thing is, makes people write better songs. They sort of dig a little deeper. They hear the resonance of whatever those songs contain, and they match it.
It's too hard to take.
Change is slow and difficult, but a few local heroes do manage to score major hits, both at home and abroad.
The Poppy Family, Which Way You Goin' Billy, is one of those landmark records, for the West anyway, played on both sides of the border, topped the charts in Billboard.
Of course, we'd all listen to Poppy Family when we were kids and stuff like that. It was like big radio singles.
The heavyweights at that time were within the Vancouver scene were Terry Jacks, BTO, you know, basically Bruce Allen and Sam Feldman and anything that they had their hands on.
When I think of Terry Jacks, what I think about is Season of the Sun.
We had joy, we had fun, we had seasons in the sun, but the wine and the song, like the seasons, have all gone.
It was amazing.
The Canadian tradition of songwriting had always been around, but it needed to get married to the rock and roll business and the pop music business.
It didn't just happen overnight. We didn't just get the regulations and then suddenly the world opened up and the floodgates opened and everything was all Canadian.
We weren't really making any money at it. What we didn't understand was how many records you really had to sell, how it really was a mass appeal industry.
Despite the struggling record business, several acts get lucky and manage to land at the top of the Canadian and U.S. charts. Edward Bear abandoned their blues rock sound and scored big with feel-good pop balladry. The Stampeders go the other way, trading a Sweet City sound for songs with a wilder edge.
Rush were formed in Toronto in 1968. Alex Lifeson and his school friend Geddy Lee and John Rutsey.
When we began Rush, those guys couldn't sing and didn't want to sing. So the job fell to me to do that. And we started writing very dense, heavy rock. And my voice had to get higher and higher and to cut through it. I liked singing, and I guess it came kind of naturally to me. And I said to myself, I have to keep doing this. I want to keep doing this. Singing is a way of getting lost in yourself. It's a great expression. It's your body as an instrument, so you really feel like you're putting it out. I know why people made disparaging remarks about my voice, but it was what was required of the music at the time, and we were into it.
And you either liked it or you didn't like it, but it suited Rush, and it became really identifiable with our band and with him as a vocalist.
Rush were unable to find official representation in Canada, but that did not stop them as they released a cover of Buddy Holly's Not Fade Away under their own label, Moon.
They spent all that time playing live. They were a really good, solid hard rock band. Rush's debut album came out in 1974.
I think one of the first songs that we learned was Rush in the Mood off of their first record. We just unanimously agreed, man, this record is amazing.
It wasn't particularly well received, certainly not by the critics.
It didn't really pick up much traction until a DJ in Ohio, Donna Halper, and she started playing the track Working Man. After the release of the album, Rutsey, the drummer, left the band due to health reasons. And after auditioning a number of drummers, Rush recruited Neil Peart, who actually also became their main lyricist.
A lot of his lyrics were literary based, they were quite political.
Rush's lineup was set. They were firmly establishing themselves in the rock scene.
And Ian Thomas, a producer and jingle writer, steps into the spotlight as one of the era's top solo artists.
Now just to see what I could see.
Inspired by the success of artists like Gordon Lightfoot, Anne Murray, and Joni Mitchell, a new wave of troubadours emerges. Lightfoot's influence is strongly felt by numerous artists, including a rocking bluegrass band of 3 siblings known as the Good Brothers.
Gordon Lightfoot fell in love with them, gave them a couple of songs, had them opening for him all the time.
Prairie lights are burning by the Chinook wind is moving into more light off the Alberta bound. And though I've done the best I could, my whole life ain't been so good. To more light off the Alberta bound. No, when I make an airport at a Rocky Mountain sunset, it's a pleasure just to be Alberta bound. Well, I long to spot next and kid to know what kind of shape they're in. Tomorrow night off the Alberta bound.
I believe we recorded it before Gordon recorded it. And it's amazing. It doesn't matter whether we're in Germany or Switzerland or Holland or Austria, and we perform Alberta Bound. People sing along like they've been singing it for years.
It's their signature piece. They've always done it well. I love it. I'm honored that they do it.
As in the 60s, singer-songwriters remain a big part of Canadian music. But now, these artists are lending their lyrics to a diverse range of music, including rock, reggae, Celtic jigs, and jazz.
Back in the mid-'70s, we used to perform at a coffee house in London called Smales Pace. And there were a lot of great artists came in there at that time. People like Willie P. Bennett and Colleen Peterson, Stan Rogers.
Although he doesn't hail from the East Coast, one of Canada's best chroniclers of seafaring life is Stan Rogers.
Yeah, Barrett's Privateers was kind of written in just a burst of silliness, and it kind of took off in such weird ways. I mean, I've heard about it being sung in bars in Barcelona and in Saigon.
Oh, well, said Barrett, cried the town, how I wish I was in Sherbrooke now. For 20 brave men, all fishermen, who would make for him the Antelope's crew, God damn them all. I was told we'd cruise the seas for American gold, we'd fire no guns, shed no tears, but I'm a broken man on a Halifax pier, the last of Barrett's privateers.
First time we ever went on the road outside of Newfoundland was to play at the lower deck in Halifax. And we had a plan not to sing certain songs, you know, because everybody sings Barrett's Privateers. And we walked into the place and they told us that if you don't sing Barrett's Privateers, you're not getting paid. So we learned it that afternoon, and I've been singing that song every night ever since, simply because I'm frightened to death that I won't get paid.
Brilliant songwriter, great storyteller,
a huge fan, a great influence on me.
In Newfoundland, young musicians learn the Irish, Scottish, French, and English tunes of their forefathers in crowded pubs and lively kitchen parties. But it takes two adventurous groups from St. John's, Figgy Duff and the wonderful Grand Band, to compose vibrant new songs and give old ballads and sea shanties a thoroughly modern twist.
When I was growing up, there was maybe only about 45 or 50 traditional Newfoundland songs. Later on, we found out there was like 5,000 of them. And we all started finding all of this material, the Grand Band and Figgy Duff, and we were just like bringing these things into the 70s and into the 80s.
Figgy Duff were digging up old Newfoundland tunes, and it made them, I think, a very unique band.
That he was courting a farmer's daughter on many portions.
It's great to learn the songs out of the book, and there's fantastic songs out of the book, but when you can sing a song that you've learned from a person, then that's really special.
Pamela's voice was just air. It was like, you just close your eyes and you just, the air in her voice, I just think it's one of the most beautiful voices.
The interesting thing about Figgy Duff was they had established an incredible reputation, for example, in New York City, where critics worshipped them.
Again, Figgy Duff was a big one too, because they had huge success, in terms of making records and going around the world playing their music.
Therefore I'll take you, my bride, I'll make you. Let my scolding mother say what she will.
There wasn't a bigger star in Newfoundland in 1979 than the guys in the Grand Band. Like Elvis could have came and opened for the Grand Band. It was literally that big.
Ron Hyams, he was with a group called the Wonderful Grand Band, and he had just written this song called Sonny's Dream, and he played it for me, and I was just jaw-dropped. It's beautiful.
Sonny carries a load, though he's barely a man. There ain't all that to do, still he does what he can. And he watches the sea from a room by the stairs, and the waves keep on rolling. They've done.
I wrote it in 10 minutes. I had it for a whole year before I ever sang it, and it just kind of snowballed, There's like a couple of hundred covers of it around the world now.
I love the Grand Band. When I heard them, Wonderful Grand Band had that fabulous, combination of comedy and music, and they're great musicians.
It's 100 miles to town, Sonny's never been there, and he goes to the highway and stands there and stares, and the mail comes at 4, and the mailman is old, but he still dreams in the streets full of silver and gold.
One of the most commanding figures on the Canadian blues scene is Dutch Mason, a native of Lunenburg, Nova Scotia. Although he passed away in 2006, his legend lives on.
Dutch fell in love with the blues on hearing it. He said to himself, this is me, this is it, this is what I'm going to do the rest of my life, and he made that decision just like that, and he went there and he never went anywhere else.
And Dutch, he was one of those guys who had no affectations at all. What you saw was Dutch Mason. And I think that's the thing that really drew people to him.
I never saw him play live, but I heard all of his records, and whenever you'd play, you'd finish a show and someone would go, hey, you heard of Dutch Mason? And they'd tell you all about it.
I think I'll move down to Florida. I'm going to Florida on the train. I think I'll move down to Florida. I'm going to Florida on the train. I got to see you one more time. Why you driving me insane? Tell the truth.
Dutch Mason was an excellent guitar player.
played a lot like B.B. King, very sparse, very good tone.
He was the first blues guy and the top blues guy in this part of Canada, without a doubt. And everyone kind of emulated Dutch when it comes to the blues, and he taught us all a lot.
And he had that stately air on stage like he was holding court. All the musicians gathered around him. He brought the best out of them. And it reminded me of when I saw Muddy Waters at the Colonial, the way he sat down with that regal air. And everyone loved Dutch Mason.
Willie P. Bennett is a cult hero whose deeply personal ballads about life on the road are revered by other songwriters.
In coffee houses in Canada, there was a lot of writers and folk musicians that were imitating, trying to be the next Joni Mitchell or Murray McLaughlin or Gordon Lightfoot or Leonard Cohen, and Willie P. Bennett was just himself.
Cold and lonely on the road, Lord, I wish I had a hole to climb in.
Willie P. Bennett is probably one of the most important and most unsung heroes in Canadian songwriting.
Standing on that night highway, excuse me, sir, you going that way, on and out, in the swat line go. You know that could have been me, you're listening to on your radio. Well, I could be on the side of someplace, instead of standing here outside in the snow. On and on, the yellow swat line goes.
His writing is just, it blows me away. You know, what an amazing songwriter. What an amazing man, you know?
Willie made those records at Grand Avenue and Hamilton by Daniel Lanois and by Bob Lanois.
His sound was dark and deep, and that really suited me at the time. I forget who engineered what record, but I can remember.
We both worked on those records, those Willie P. Bennett records.
Two sisters from tiny Saint-Sauveur, northwest of Montreal, forge a unique, beguiling sound based on traditional folk and parlor music. Their songs become hits for singers like Emmylou Harris and Linda Ronstadt. The McGarrigles are soon the darlings of the British and American scenes.
I think Kate and Anna McGarrigle are just unique. They have you hear them and you know who it is.
The great spirit of music fell on their heads when they were young, and thank God for us.
What the McGarrigle family did in the evening was sit around the piano and sing.
They really reintroduced folk music and folk songs, but also created songs that were timeless. And
I remember the songs that they wrote for Linda Ronstadt, Art Like a Wheel. We worshipped them.
I've been lucky enough to do some shows with them and watch them from the side of the stage, and when they sing together, it's really special. It gives you chills.
The first record is viewed now as this classic because the songs and the singing was so fantastic. I don't think I've ever had a better time making a record.